Hello, welcome back to Children's Church. I hope you've had a great week and that you are excited for today's story, because this week we are going to be talking all about a man called Lazarus, and something very special happened with Lazarus. So we're going to learn all about that. I hope you're ready to go. We've got crafts, we've got stories all lined up for you. But before we do, we're going to pray. So you, with the person that's watching this with you, or just by yourself, can you pause me and just take a little second to pray to God yourself and just to ask him to help you learn from today's story. And then when you've done that, we will get started.
My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. In the beginning, God made everything. God simply spoke and the world came to be. He sent a flood and made everything new. He parted the sea and let his people walk through. He helped a boy bring a giant right down. Joshua marched, the walls fell to the ground. These acts of power are worthy of praise. But if you want to question my God and his ways, I'll look you in the eye and say, my God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. Though we are sinners, he still gave us worth. God sent his son to live here on the earth. He healed the sick, he made blind men see. He let the lame walk and he set the world free. He died on a cross and he rose from the grave. He conquered sin, he is mighty to save. He went to heaven and he's coming back. God's word is true, but if it's attacked, I'll look you in the eye and say, my God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. God the Spirit, God the Father, God the Son. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. God the Spirit, God the Father, God the Son. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. I want the world to know about my God. I wanna live so the whole world can see that my heart has changed, I'm forgiven and new. If people need proof, may they see it in me. Let's look the world in the eye. Let's look them in the eye and say, my God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. I'm not afraid because God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do.
Hello everyone, my name is Jessica. You've maybe not saw my face before, but I am so excited. Okay, so let's go. We're gonna watch a really short clip on Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. Okay, Jesus and Lazarus were really good friends, and so was Lazarus' sisters Mary and Martha. Okay, so obviously everyone as well as Jesus is really upset about the fact that Lazarus has died, but Jesus knows what's going to happen. He knows how this is going to glorify God the Father. He knows what's going to happen, and it always ends good with Jesus. The story, the promises, everything that Jesus does in this is so exciting for us, okay? So it's in the book of John, chapter 11, verses 1 to 44. If you want to read it, go ahead and read it, but we're going to watch a really short clip of it now, okay? And I hope you enjoy it, I hope you love it, and I hope you know that God is so good and He can do amazing things. Okay, see you.
Stories of the Bible. Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. This is Jesus,
Heyo!
who is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. While Jesus was on earth, He taught everyone about God's love. He did many miracles and healed people of their sickness. Jesus had a friend named Lazarus who was very sick. He had two sisters named Mary
That's okay.
and Martha,
Here you go.
who sent a message to Jesus telling him, "Lord, your dear friend is very sick."
So come on.
But when Jesus heard about it, He said, "Lazarus' sickness will not end in death. No, it happened for the glory of God."
What?
So although Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, He stayed where He was for the next 2 days.
All right, let's go.
Finally, He said to His disciples, "Let's go back to Judea."
Are you sure?
But His disciples did not think this was a good idea because the people in Judea had tried to kill Jesus. But Jesus told them they were going anyway. He said, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but now I will go and wake him up."
You'll be okay.
The disciples thought Jesus meant Lazarus was simply sleeping. So Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead.
What?
And for your sakes, I'm glad I wasn't there. For now you will really believe. Come, let's go see him." Thomas said to his fellow disciples, "Let's go too and die with Jesus." When Jesus arrived at Bethany, He was told that Lazarus had already been in his grave for 4 days. Many people had come to be with Mary and Martha because their brother had died. When Martha got word that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus told her, "Your brother will rise again." "Yes," Martha said, "he will rise when everyone else rises at the last day." Jesus told her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live even after dying." "Do you believe this, Martha?" "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I have always believed you are the Messiah, the Son of God." Then she returned to Mary. She told Mary, "The teacher is here and wants to see you." So Mary immediately went to him. When the people who were at the house consoling Mary saw her leave so hastily, they assumed she was going to Lazarus' grave to weep.
Oh, let's go too.
So they followed her there. When Mary arrived and saw Jesus, she said, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping and saw the other people wailing with her, a deep anger welled up within him. "Where have you put him?" he asked them. They told him, "Lord, come and see." Then Jesus wept. The people who were standing nearby said, "See how much he loved him?" But some said, "This man healed a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?" Jesus was still angry and he arrived at the tomb. "Roll the stone aside," Jesus told them.
Wait, hold on, Jesus.
But Martha protested, "Lord, he has been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible." Jesus said, "Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe?"
Go ahead.
So they rolled the stone aside. Then Jesus said, "Father, thank you for hearing me. You always hear me, but I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so they will believe you sent me." Then Jesus shouted, "Lazarus, come out!" And Lazarus came out, his hands, feet, and head wrapped in cloth. Jesus told them, "Unwrap him and let him go."
Wahoo!
Many of the Jews who were there believed in Jesus, for he had raised Lazarus from the dead.
It's good to be able to learn together again from the story that we've listened to. We're going to learn that there is life through Jesus. And to learn this morning, we're here in church. And church is really important because this is where God's family meet him. And to meet God is really important, and also to have a family, a spiritual family, is really, really important as well. God puts us all into families, and every family is different, and there are good things about every family where we're loved and where we are cared for. Now I wonder, can you remember to the story last week? Do you remember the name of the two sisters? Do you remember one was called Mary and the other was called Martha? And we're going to think a little bit more about their family in a moment, but also in our lives as they come to us. Sometimes there are things that always don't go to plan. Stuff happens that surprises us. And sometimes those surprises are amazing, where we get a card or a gift or someone calls and that makes us feel so good. And then there are other things that surprise us, and they are different and they are hard and sometimes they are sad. But in our story today that we're going to learn from in just a moment, we learn that all of those things that are outside our control, that Jesus is in the midst of all of those stories, and he works things out for God's best. And that's where the story takes us to today. It's the two sisters, Mary and Martha, and they have this brother called Lazarus. Maybe you remember that from the story that was told earlier on in our session. And Lazarus was really sick, wasn't he? And Mary and Martha, they wanted their brother to get better, and they wanted Jesus to be there because they knew that Jesus was not only one of their best friends who called at their house quite often, but that he was God's son and he could do anything. Now they knew that Jesus could make Lazarus better, but Jesus, he didn't come. And I'm sure they felt all kinds of things because of that. And they maybe even found it hard to understand what was going on. But when we take a step back from the story, we discover that Jesus really was in control and he knew what was best. And it was really sad. You remember how Lazarus died and how he was put into the big cave and the stone was rolled in front of it, and that was his grave. And 4 days later, do you remember in the story, Martha, she hears that Jesus was coming, and she goes out to meet him, and Jesus explained to her that Lazarus would come alive again. Now imagine what Mary thought. Up until then, everybody that they had known who died, they stayed dead. But this was Jesus, and he was saying that Lazarus was rise again. And Jesus, he used these words to describe who he was, but also what he would do. He said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die like everyone else, they will live again." Now, resurrection it's a big word, isn't it? But it means God's power to bring somebody back from the dead to life. That's what resurrection means. And nobody else has that power but God and God's Son, Jesus Christ. Do you remember what happened later on in the story? Jesus, he goes to the tomb and he's sad, and so he weeps. He weeps with sorrow. But Jesus doesn't stop there. He tells people to roll the stone away. And then do you remember the words that he spoke in a strong and powerful voice? And he speaks and he says, Lazarus, come out. Now, because Jesus has the power to raise people from the dead, he had the power over death. And in his words, Lazarus came back to life again. He walked out, and the people who were there, who just rolled the stone away, they saw that. They must have been amazed at the miracle. And we know that it's true, because Mary never said, oh, this didn't happen. Martha didn't say, oh, this never happened. All of the people who were watching, they never said, oh, that didn't happen. It was true. And so we learn that there is nothing that Jesus cannot do. In the story, what we want to learn is about trust. Mary and Martha, they had to trust Jesus' timing. They had to trust that he was with them in the middle of their sadness. They had to trust his love. And then they had to trust his power. They had to trust that he was in control. But more than trusting in all those big things, what they really needed to learn was that Jesus had the power to give life. And that Jesus had the power to defeat the greatest enemy. And that enemy is called death. And Jesus defeated death that day. And he defeated death forever. Much later on, you remember the first Easter? When Jesus was nailed on the cross and he died there. And then he was put in a tomb. But then that power, it couldn't keep a hold of him, and he defeated death. He was raised to life. And so whenever he said to Martha, I'm the resurrection and the life, he was describing who he is and what he does. Do you remember that verse? I am the resurrection and the life. He or she, those who believe in me, even though they die like everybody else, they will live again. And I'll say it again, and if you're able to repeat it to yourself, just quietly into your mind, Jesus' words, I am the resurrection and the life. And that tells you who he is. And then the next part of the verse tells us what he does. Those who believe in me, even though they die like everybody else, they will live again. And that's what Jesus does. But we have to believe in him to have this gift of life, to say, Jesus, everything you say is true, and I trust it, and I want to live forever. Help me to believe. So thank you so much for listening and learning today that we have life, eternal life, through Jesus.
Hi everybody, we are going to do a very exciting craft about Lazarus today. So I am going to show you here on the screen in a second a picture of Lazarus, and it's all going to be in black and white, and there's little numbers on it, and you have to try and find the correct colour or the correct number to colour it all in properly. So if you can print it and you want to do that, that's fine. Or you can just pause my screen and you can copy the picture and then do your own numbers. So you can actually design your own, which would be interesting for me to see as well. So if you want to send me them, you can send us them on our Facebook page, and hopefully I will see them. But if not, you can just enjoy doing this for yourself, or you can even design one and give it to somebody else at home for them to colour in with you. So have fun. Thank you for joining us for Children's Church this week. We hope you have learned so much about God and how much He loves you. Have a great week, and we'll see you here again next week. Bye.